Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday night at 7 o'clock with my good friend Ian, who I think has been dreading the show all day today because I warned you last night during this embarrassment of a game that tonight is not going to be pretty because I've had it. I'm fed up after 4 games. I have a lot to be pissed off about. I'm not going to find any positives. So you're going to have your hands full spewing positivity with me tonight, dude. You are. I'm not going to buy half of it.
Well, dude, so I was pissed, right? Obviously watching the game last night, doing the recap video, just, connected with Jets fans, seeing their thoughts on everything. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I got the stream with Tyson on Tuesday. He's Mr. Positivity. I'm really looking forward to seeing what, he has to say. So, yeah, dude, we can dive into it.
What a disappointment, man. What an absolute disappointment. And the one thing, it's like you're playing a very bad Miami team, 2 bad teams. You want to see growth. You want to see improvement. You want to see a lot of quality football, competitive football. And we're seeing anything but that. And to me, my honest opinion is this score did not reflect what we watched for 4 quarters last night. It really didn't.
Agreed.
Like, it was so close. They're 1-score game. Stop it. Just stop it. Look what we watched for 3 hours. It was a complete waste of time for a good portion of it, where you're not a team that you're proud of, a team you're embarrassed of. You're embarrassed to be a Jet fan once again. Same old Jets. You're 0-4, and you're irrelevant before October. This game, they're nothing now, dude. Nobody cares about them. They're going to go into irrelevant, just, keep losing games. Do what you want. Nobody's going to care anymore. Same old Jets.
I think the thing that's so damn frustrating, man, is like the bar is set so low from fans. I mean, personally, like I'll never tell a fan how they should root or what their expectation should be coming into a season, whether it's the Jets or another team. But personally, I was not one of those Jets fans that thought, okay, this is like a playoff team, 12, 11, 10 wins, right? I think we're far away from that. But I was thinking 6. And if anything, can we at least put out competitive football? Now, we are only 4 games into the season. Of course, those goals are still, in reach. But, dude, I got to be honest, man. Through 4 games, it is just the other team is like it's just when they line up, you can tell with probably maybe outside of that Steelers game, but against Buffalo, Tampa, and Miami, it was just so clear who the better team was. Yep. It was so clear who was beating themselves. It was just, it's hard to watch, man. And it's flat out embarrassing, right? Because everyone knows, like, I'm a Jet, like my family, my friends, my brother, obviously my girlfriend's family, like they all know I'm a Jet fan. And so, like, for example, I was talking to my grandma on the phone today and she goes, oh, how about the Jets, right? Did they win? And I have to basically every week go on this long list of talking about how I thought the Jets looked and everyone just feeling bad for me. And it's freaking embarrassing, man. Like I got a million texts and calls that I got to respond to saying, oh, no, we lost again every week, dude, every week.
It's how you're losing. They're self-destructing. They're melting. You're worried about coaching. You're worried about effort. You're worried about scheme. You're worried about so many things. And you're worried about roster composition and how they're actually handling their goddamn roster. Now, just for an example, look at how they've handled the kick returners. They started with Xavier Gibson, which we knew was not a good player. We knew. He fumbled. They cut him, right? Then they bring in Isaiah Williams, who was nothing. He hasn't been shorthanded since he's been here, right? But they used Braylon Allen. Why Braylon Allen would you use him as a kick returner? With all the freaking guys you have on this team, you use him. He gets hurt. He fumbles. He gets hurt. He's out. He's on injury reserve now. Then you have Isaiah Williams, your replacement for Xavier Gibson. Who? What does he do? He fumbles and he fair catches the ball on the 2-yard line. That's like peewee football stuff there, dude. Like, what are we doing? And then you have Aaron Glenn telling us today, Oh, you know what? We've got to learn from this. What are we learning, coach? How to be even worse than we already are? Isaiah Williams should have been cut last night. You want to act like this big badass head coach? Oh, accountability, preach this, preach that. You ain't preaching shit. You're not preaching anything because you're not following it. Look at the mistakes this team is making. You make a mistake, they're back in the game. Make a mistake, back in the game. There's no accountability. There's no structure. And there's no leadership on or off the field. They know how to lose. They've mastered it. And they're only improving their mastery of it.
Bad teams find ways to lose football games.
Dude. Look at how they handle the kick returners. Just as an example. It's been a complete disaster.
You know what's so interesting, man, is like the Jets, for whatever reason, whatever, Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich, Joe Douglas, whoever, like when was the last time we actually had like an above average good kickoff returner / punt returner? Like you got to go back a pretty far ways, man. I don't understand. Like I'm at the point where it's just like, don't even return the ball. Just knee it. Just knee it. I don't even want to risk a fumble. Like, why is this? And I like Chris Banjo, man. I think the punt coverage has been really good. I think the punt game has been really good. Nick Folk has obviously been awesome.
Yep.
But the return game is just so bad. We have so many mistakes there. And, you know, I don't want to pin last night's loss on just Williams here.
Nope.
It goes so much further beyond it. Was he a part of it? Yes, absolutely. And I don't know. It just feels very weird, right? Because on one hand, you have a bunch of players that everyone knows should not be here. It for whatever reason, they just have every excuse in the book on why they are. The three players consist of Allen Lazard, no matter what. Yep. By the way, quick side note. Allen Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds, 3 wide receivers. We combine those 3 wide receiver stats over 4 games, 63 yards. That's horrible, dude. That is absolutely horrible. But beside the point, Michael Clemens is the other player. And then number 3 is Tony Adams. It feels like for certain guys, there is accountability. Certain guys, there isn't accountability. I don't know, man. It's just the Jets they just feel like they're in such a weird spot right now. And unfortunately, they just can't get out of their own way. And
but this is predictable, though. But this is predictable. I'm sorry to cut you off, dude. But this is stuff we've talked about the entire offseason. During free agency, we talked about it.
Well, let me cut you off. We've been talking about this for years. Mistakes, beating ourselves, penalties, not turning the ball or not taking the ball away, rather. I mean, this special teams blunders. This stuff has been happening for a long, long time.
Yeah, no, it is. But you look at your concerns going this season. Like, to be honest, we said I didn't think Tony Adams is going to make the team. I didn't think Michael Clemens is going to make the team. I didn't think Xavier Gibson's making the team. People always make fun of Jet fans. A lot of times we know this team better than they know themselves. So we know the players aren't good. We said you're one Jermaine Johnson injury away from being in deep trouble. You have no pass rush. They have no pass rush. They haven't created a turnover in 4 games. How is that even possible? They can't get a pass rush. Tua wasn't even hit last night. You look at all these things and how they manage their roster, it's embarrassing.
Dude, and you even look at the Miami Dolphins front, right? Or their offensive line. It's not good. And they're banged up. No James Daniels, who is their big free agent acquisition on the O-line to fix guard. They're starting a rookie at left guard, 2nd-round pick out of Arizona. Austin Jackson is hurt at right tackle. So they were down to my knowledge, 2 offensive linemen with a rookie starting on the offensive line, and 2 was just hanging out back there.
The defense makes absolutely no sense to me. And the thing is, like, I'm just focused on the coach. He tries to be this hard-ass coach changing the culture. Tony Adams' effort in the touchdown was pathetic. The little touch push with his arms, like, they're not going for the ball. They're not tackling. They're taking absolutely 0 angles, and he's still in the game. So it's like there is, like, I believe in one thing, and the absolute opposite thing is happening. I don't know what Wilkes is doing. I don't know what their schemes are on defense. They always look lost. The Dolphins throw a screen pass. We're surprised by it. Tyreek Hill's running free whenever he wanted to. It's just Michael Carter's been terrible. Then you have the way the Jets are getting hits. They're hitting each other, right? It's just like they were knocking each other out. Michael Carter hurt by his own teammate. Tony Adams hit Sherwood. Like they're like fumbling bears out there. And it just drives you crazy. We just want you to be competent. We want to see quality football. They have one of the worst defenses in the NFL right now. Historically bad, dude. Can't generate pass rush, can't generate turnovers. That's awful.
I know.
I can't do this. So Keys, thank you very much, man. Jets are far from being the worst team. This defense is hard, yes. They continue to beat themselves rather than lose games. Other than the Bills game, penalties and miscues are killing the team. But then what? They're not the worst team, but where is the like? What can you hang your hat on right now at this team? What is the absolute strength of this team and identity of this team after 4 games?
I think really there's 3 things that the Jets do well. And that's pretty much it. Number
Punting, field goals.
Number 1 of those was actually Nick Folk. To be honest, right? Extra points, he's been awesome. Field goals, he's been awesome. Run blocking, I think, has been pretty damn good, especially with no AVT. Just understanding, okay, the Jets aren't going to be throwing the ball. They don't have any wide receivers. The room is desolate outside of Garrett Wilson. And they're also not even really trying to throw the ball early in games. So despite all these things working against them, the fact that they're still able to just gash teams on the ground, I think is pretty damn impressive. And the third thing was punting. But for McNamara, undrafted free agent, I've been pretty impressed. But
Valen, what are you doing, Valen? You're killing us, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely insane, dude. Valen
he's just crazy, dude. Valen, you're crazy, man. Thank you so much, dude. I don't even have shirts to send you, dude. I would send you some more shirts. I sent you all the ones I have. Thank you,
Valen,
man.
dude. But Tyson, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. Bro, please send me an email. I'll let me just write my email in the chat, dude, because I know you said you don't have any social media, but personally, dude, I really want to reach out and just say thanks or maybe send you something, something cool, like a piece of memorabilia or something, man, because you're always in these chats, win, loss, always support, man, hanging out. I really appreciate you. Tyson really appreciates you, man. Super, super generous. So, let me drop my email in the chat here.
Now, the question I had for you is, we'll start on the offensive side of the ball. What are your thoughts on Justin Fields and the play calling? To me, the touchdown run was a broken play. He made the most out of it. His legs are fine. In terms of the passing game, to me, it drives me crazy because I don't think it seems like they're scared to stretch the field. When he actually stays in the pocket, he seems like he gets a little bit nervous, but they're not taking any shots downfield, dude. Like, why have Aaron Smith if you're not going to use him? It's like it's dink and dunk, and it looks like when he drops back to pass, he's looking for that check, like the check down, the safety valve. He's not looking to stretch it. Is he being coached that way to be conservative? Is he scared to throw the interception? Like, what do you think about this passing attack? Because something seems off. And I like Fields, but then when they started losing and he had to air it out, they had success until they got all the penalties. But like, the passing game just seems weird to me.
Yeah, it's I have, like, for me, I have a hard time looking at Tanner Engstrand and saying just completely ripping them apart, just shredding them, right? Because I mean, we talked about the stats with Josh Reynolds and these guys before. You look at this roster, dude. Yeah, we have some good players. Like, it feels like we're just so top heavy when it comes to running the football, but when it comes to passing, it's just like, and by no means am I excusing Tanner. If you
could run the ball, the play action pass should be there. The way the Jets are running the ball last night, play action pass should have been much easier. So why is it so difficult then?
I think for me, what I've seen so far, A, we don't have wide receiver talent. B, Tanner Engstrand's a first-time offensive coordinator. He's not going to be, if he calls 60 to 70 offensive plays, he's not going to be calling A pluses 60 to 70 plays out of the game. You can bring up poor play calls from Andy Reid, poor play calls from Sean McVay, or like questionable moments. Like, what are you doing there?
We're not nitpicking one pass. It's the philosophy of the offense, where it's playing not to lose, playing to stay in the game. But that works against a really bad Miami team. This is why you get blown out by everybody else, because you can't keep playing like that. Defenses are going to figure out what you're doing. Justin Fields only wants to throw 5 yards. Okay, we'll start stacking the box. We'll start jumping routes because we're not scared of anybody. There's no threat downfield until they start losing by 14 points.
Yeah, and you know what's ironic is, like, when the Jets start just kind of playing free, opening it up, like, all right, well, we're going to lose the game anyway. Let's just start throwing like crazy. Then you really see the defense kind of play back on their heels a little bit. I mean, the same thing happened with Tampa. This is not a Justin Fields thing.
Yep.
Taylor did the same exact thing, right, in the comeback. People are talking about, like, oh, it's garbage time. It doesn't matter. The Jets came back in the game. It's not garbage time. Garbage time is like 40 to 10. And that's, they get it. Like, Garbage time was the end of the Bills game where Tyrod went down the field and scored. Buffalo, they're playing not to get hurt. They're not going to show anything on that drive. That's garbage time. But the Bucs game, that's not garbage time. The Jets, God, I don't know, man. I think for me, it's the inexperience from Tanner Engstrom. Him trying to learn on the fly, because it's not like he has Sean McVay, Andy Reid, Shanahan, Matt LaFleur.
What is Scott Turner doing?
Coaches holding his hand every step of the way. It's not like he's in a position like that. He is the offensive coordinator. Glenn is the defensive guy, despite Glenn talking about, him wanting to, help out on the offensive side of the football. I think, again, you have to look at having a question mark at the quarterback position, plus not having any wide receivers outside of Garrett Wilson. And also, for what it's worth, too, I feel like the Jets have had a very difficult time picking up blitzes. Like, they can't identify them,
100%.
whether that's on Taylor and Fields, or whether that's on offensive linemen, running backs that are supposed to be blocking. They just have had a difficult time doing it. And granted, like, when you're playing that style of defense, like a odd man front, and you can send blitzes from any which way, and you have multiple guys that can do it, it is tougher to pick up that. Like Todd Bowles, there's a reason why players and coaches say still to this day he's like the number one defensive minded football, even though his defenses are never the best. It's because of his like creative blitz packages and stuff. And I think Miami probably just looked at that and just duplicated it.
But wouldn't they expect it then? Like, we literally know they're going to do this. The approach to stop the Jets, especially when they want to run the ball. It's no surprises here. And I get it. Engstrom's a first-time head coach, but to me, it's a philosophy of the offense. And I don't think they like going vertical. I think they don't. If you have Justin Fields and all his athletic ability that you praise him for, we want to bring him back to his Ohio State days, then let him throw the friggin' football. I'd rather go down in flames where you're getting the ball downfield, being aggressive, taking shots, than watching this, dropping back to pass, getting scared, moving this, running around, 4-yard dump pass, all this. It's not sustainable, dude. Like, how you implementing your offense, especially if you can run the football. If you're getting 5 yards a clip at Breece Hall, they should have ran him more, but I don't understand what they're doing. And, so then it's like, okay, if you have him, what do you have Scott Turner for? He's a passing game coordinator. And if Aaron Glenn's so involved, at some point, you got to say, it was luckily 10-3 at halftime yesterday. I don't know how the hell that was even possible. But you got to say, listen, the game is now getting out of hand. We've got to be more aggressive. Push the ball. And I'm wondering, why can't they start the game like that? They did it in Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh game, they've done it, and they've been a shell of that since then.
Yeah, it's it hasn't been good, man. And I you just kind of feel like, okay, it's common sense that you look at the Jets wide receiver room, you understand, okay, Mason Taylor is a rookie tight end
who played well,
but it still doesn't change the fact that he's not some reliable, he's not Kelsey, he's not Kittle, he's not, Hawkinson,
he's not Stone,
these
he's
guys.
not Stone Smart.
Where's he been, right?
He's no Ruckert.
I mean,
but that's the problem, right? Like, the things that we're seeing now, it's like, listen, I give you a lot of credit. You're trying to figure out, give answers and be more that's definitely more professional than I am, and saying, listen, this offense has some things doing really good things. I think they're being held back by Fields, whether it's the coaching or him just being scared to throw the ball, and the actual talent on the roster that they put together. These are all pieces they brought in. They didn't inherit Stone Smart. They didn't inherit Josh Reynolds. They brought all these guys in to run this freaking offense. And now it's like, you put all these pieces out there, and now it's not working. So, ground and pound is great, but you have to throw the football to win in the NFL.
Well, to be fair, it feels like these guys are mostly stopgaps. It feels like Brandon Stevens was the free agent that they identified early on, 3-year deal. Here you go. You're going to be here for the next 3 seasons. Literally everyone else. Fields is debatable because it was a 2-year deal, but Andre Sisco, Stone Smart, Josh Myers, Josh Reynolds, these guys are all just cheap 1-year rentals. It doesn't feel like, oh, this was this mastermind plan. Josh Reynolds is going to set the league on fire and have this career season, so we need to go out and attack, and make sure that we get him under contract. It just feels like, all right, we are so bad at wide receiver. Who the hell's out there? All right, let's just go get this guy. We don't have to give up a draft pick.
Vinny, man, thank you so much, man. Good to hear from you. I was there last night, boys. Being that you can see the Jets sideline, no energy whatsoever. Glenn talks a big game for a team that is worse than any other year. Same old Jets coach. This isn't the first time I heard this. Fireman Ed said the same thing for the Tampa Bay game, where the energy on the sideline is a problem. And I think the thing is, when you start out the game, we talked about this earlier, is you start the game, Miami marches down the field, you hold them to a field goal, you're encouraged. Okay. The Jets, awesome drive down the field. They're marching down the field, absolutely mauling the Dolphins. When Braylon Allen fumbled on the 2-yard line, 1-yard line, whatever it was, I'm like, well, I've seen this game before a million times. So the cynical Jet fan kicks in. You're like, here we go again, same old Jets. They fumble. But then you have an opportunity for your defense to get a big stop. Hold them there, get a 3 and out, force them to punt, get much better field position. What does Miami do? 96 yards down the field, touchdown. And then that to me was the game. Like, you knew right there, a Jets win for a long night. It's going to be it's just not going to work for them. And it's slowly but surely disintegrated from there on out.
Yeah, no, and by the way, I'm not sure if I'm lagging on my end or it's on your end.
You're back good.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, you're good now. Yep.
Okay, cool. I mean, credit Jack Jones on the fumble like that, or on the forced fumble. That was an awesome play by him. Really, really impressive play by him. But the fact that the defense can just trot out there and just get shredded by this Dolphins team, and yeah, the Dolphins offense has some talent, but come on, man. Like, the expectation needs to be higher. Look, Jets are, beat up. Their injuries. It's a new scheme. I get it. But the defense, to me, we're only 4 games in. And I'm just at like my wit's end with it. Like, if they don't improve against Dallas, which is one of the most explosive offenses in football right now, right? Hanging 40 on Green Bay, going back and forth with Philly early on. But I don't care. Like you look at the amount of first round picks, the amount of money that's being spent on this roster or on this defense. You look at you look at Wilkes, who's done this before. Again, I tend to look at the defense and have more anger and frustration with them compared to the offense, because it's Wilkes, because Glenn is a defensive guy, because you have Q and or had Quincy up until this last week, Gardner, Michael Carter. Like, these are some of the highest paid players at their position.
Yep.
And it's one of the worst defenses in football, at least on offense. Like, I can walk down the street and ask, a random football fan, like, hey, do you think the Jets offense will be any good this season? They're probably going to be like, probably not. What about the defense? Oh, yeah, that's the defense with a ton of really good players and former All-Pros and first-round pick after first-round pick. Like, yeah, that should be a top 15 unit. That's realistic to expect. Turns out the Jets defense can't stop a thing, man. And it is just, it makes you ask the question, who's more at fault? And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Is it the players or is it the coaches? Or a combo of both?
Well, we didn't touch on this yet, and I completely agree with Caleb. Not an excuse at all, but the refs were totally one-sided last night. They don't respect our franchise. The call on Garrett Wilson to pull back a touchdown, absolutely ridiculous. I hate the call on Sauce Gardner, terrible. How they didn't get the personal foul on Jeremy Ruckert when the guy hit him 4 seconds after the play makes no sense. Like, these calls were ridiculous. And there were some big game-changing calls as well, but the Jets don't earn respect. They haven't earned respect from anybody. They self-destruct. They lack discipline, and they're not, like, you have to have like some kind of, maybe some winning or something more to get respect from the rest. It's not getting it from anybody, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, even hitting Fields late out of bounds. The hell was that about? No flag there. That feels like it's a weekly thing. Even Tyrod was hit late last week against the Bucks. I don't want to sit here and complain about the refs, even though they've been, the officiating this season has been crappy for so many teams. I mean, it's a constant story. Troy Aikman was ripping them the other day. Or was it actually last night? Yeah, it was last night with the Bengals-Broncos game. Just talking about just the amount of stoppages and look, if the refs want to call a ticky-tack game, cool. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it. But if that's the way you want to call it, then call it like that for both teams. Not this pick and choose. Okay, well, that's hit seemed a little hard, and this one seemed hard, but it maybe wasn't as bad as the first one, but this one's a flag and that one isn't. Yep. And it's just this double standard, this, weird back and forth where everything is like this massive judgment call. Just make a decision. Do you want to let the guys play a little bit more, or do you want to be more strict with it? Pick a lane. I don't care which lane you want to do, but establish that lane early so teams kind of know, coaches know. And then for 4 quarters, you have at least consistency. I hate watching, one team's quarterback just get absolutely hammered, right? Just completely wrecked in the pocket. And then the other, and there's no flags. And the other guy whether it's like Pat Mahomes or someone, like
Yep.
they barely get touched. Like this was like, I think why a lot of people were always so frustrated with Brady's, because like he would barely get touched and you'd see the flag come flying out. So, were the refs the reason why the Jets lost? No. Were they a part of it? Yes.
So you asked a question before: is the defense the scheme or the players? I'm starting to wonder about the players. And as fans, I think myself personally, I think we've grossly overrated a lot of these guys. They were rewarded with big contracts. And a lot of things we see this year is the same thing we saw last year with Ulbrich and Saleh. Poor coverage, poor tackling, poor angles. I think this team lacks a vocal leader. I think they lack nasty guys that are just dogs, dude, that hate losing, hate just poor play, and they demand better from their guys around them. I don't think they have that, dude. I think it's a very complacent culture on this team where they're just like, all right, you do it, whatever. I don't think there's nothing there. I don't. And like, even like Sherwood's been just a big disappointment. He got what, $15 million a year. So to me, it's like, okay. And this staff actually paid him. So I mean, I hate saying this because you want to buy into this young nucleus, and you're going into the season. And we talked about this where we like, well, look at all this money. Look, you have, Quincy Williams and Sherwood and Sauce and all this great talent. And they're probably one of the worst defenses of football right now. Scheme is important, but the players have got to execute and be better as well. And I don't think they have that. I think they lack huge leadership on this team. And if you have to, this is the challenge though. It's, if you clean house, do you trust this staff to actually do it and rebuild the defense in their own mindset? They say, listen, well, Michael Carter is going to be gone. Cisco's going to be gone. Maybe we got to do this. Are you comfortable with all that? Do you think it's actually the players in?
I think it's 50-50 because, in certain situations, by the way, am I lagging? Am I okay?
You're good right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know why I might pop out and pop back in after I say this, but again, I think it's 50-50. I don't think the coaches are doing any favors. I don't think that the players are growing or getting better. Reality is the Jets look like the same exact team yesterday than they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like there's been zero growth outside of maybe Jawan Briggs and Brandon Stevens. Those are the only two players that are trending up. Everyone else, it's been shaky.
Well, Quinnen's played great too.
Quinnen has played great. Yeah. And, to be honest, I think Harrison Phillips and Quinnen, like those two guys in the middle of the field, like I looked at D tackle as a big time need. Gary Muji went out and addressed it. I think the D tackle position has been great. You're not really seeing this Jets team like getting completely just ripped apart on the ground, which is really encouraging. But what I was saying.
But wait, one question though is, what do you think about Michael Clemens, Will McDonald? Because Will McDonald, once Jermaine Johnson goes out, that's got to be your pass rush. That's got to be a guy. They're taking him off the field now. He's not playing as much as I thought he'd play. I thought he'd be playing more. He's actually playing less. Is that because he can't stop the run? He's not a well-rounded player? Because if that's the case, is he a guy they're going to put money into and bring him back? Like, is he a guy that doesn't even fit this defense then?
Well, I mean, thankfully with him, he's not in a contract year. So we don't really have to worry about that right now. And, even if he was, I think it's totally fair to just kind of, wait to the end of the season and just kind of see how things go. That's not necessarily a player that I'm like slamming my fist on the table saying like, we need to re-sign him right this second. No, we can allow it to play out a little bit with McDonald, but no, going back to the original question, I think it's a combination of both. Again, Wilkes, they're not, carrying, they're not dragging this defense along like Todd Bowles, Rex Ryan, like those guys, you really felt like they're putting guys in a position to have success. They are really maximizing what they have there, the talents. If there's an injury, they can cover it up. They can do things to kind of manipulate the offense. This defense, I don't see that pretty much at all with the coaching staff. It feels very much like this is who we are. This is what we're going to do.
Yep.
You guys just have to go out and try to beat us. And unfortunately, they've been doing that every single week. And there hasn't really been much adjustments. But with that said, I think when you go back and you watch, like there are moments where like Steve Wilkes actually does call a really good blitz, a really good, like you referenced that Tony Adams play before, like where he just failed to miss the tackle. Like that was a great call by Wilkes. Tony Adams was right there to make a play. The play was designed for that strong safety to come right down and make the hit, but he comes in so soft. The guy blows right by him.
Yep.
And I think it was Achan with the ball. And I think that ended up being the touchdown or at least a first down run. It was a huge, huge play, man. And it's like,
But he's done the
there's been
same thing.
moments.
He's done the same thing the whole season. Like he shouldn't be in the game. That's the problem.
Right. But and so that's kind of my point is, it does go both ways. Like you see Gardner, I mean, he's completely replaceable. So through the first 4 games, name a random corner in football, someone off the Colts, someone off, the Bills, someone off the Packers. Just take them, have a 1-for-1 swap. It doesn't even seem like there's going to be the Jets defense will not have a drop off whatsoever.
Nope.
That is a problem when that player is the highest paid player or highest paid corner in football. Yep. Michael Carter is a complete shell of himself. That is Michael Carter and Tony Adams, strong safety and slot corner. Because at least with Gardner, you still have the upside, you still have the physical traits, you still have a good week 1 performance against Pittsburgh. Michael Carter has been, frankly, awful all year. Awful all year. He has not had a one moment where I'm like, yes, let's go. Tony Adams, same thing. Brandon Stevens started off really bad, slowly getting better. Every game he's gotten a little bit better, which I like. Cisco is just kind of like, all right, like terrible. He's not. I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's good. It's just like below average, like D+, C-, I guess. Not really pushing the needle forward whatsoever. Here's one player that I feel like can maybe change some things. We've already talked about him before, not on this show, but CJ Gardner-Johnson, someone who would be coming in, who knows Aaron, he'd be like a pseudo coach on the field because he knows what Glenn wants to do. Mm-hmm. He comes in at, I would say, the worst position on the team, strong safety, immediate upgrade. I would say right now, see, if you take CJ Gardner-Johnson and you just drop him into you drop him into the Jets secondary, he's the best player right now based off of how they're playing.
Yep.
He has had success for multiple teams. He's worked with Aaron Glenn in 2 destinations. You look at where Gardner-Johnson has been criticized before in the past, kind of labeled as a talker, someone who will get on teammates. He does not like losing. He does not put up with it, and he's hard to deal with when you have guys around him that are making mistakes, which is why he always works so well in Philadelphia because the team is so damn good.
Yep.
But I think the Jets need someone like that. I don't care if Gardner or Michael Carter or someone wants to go out and or they have this negative play and Gardner-Johnson is like chirping like, yo, get your stuff together here. I don't have a problem with that. I think we kind of need and you made this point. I think it was the week before. Like the Jets could use a jerk on the field. They can use someone to start to light a fire under this defense and get these guys playing pissed off.
No, 100%, dude. You need jerks. You need antagonists. You need guys that won't settle for less. And it's like it's unfortunate, man. But it's like you try to think like even like Leonard Taylor not playing last night pissed me off. But I'm like, who is actually getting better? Like week in and week out, who's getting better? Like Brandon Stevens definitely played much better. But this week, let's see what he does against Dallas in a high flying offense. He could be a penalty machine. But like Sauce Gardner not playing better to me is an indictment on Glenn and Wilks. Michael, like the whole faith that when we brought in Glenn, like, you know what? They paid Sauce. I'm not worried about it because Glenn's going to get the most out of him. They're not. Michael Carter got big money. You know what? He's going to play better under Glenn because Glenn's a former corner. But didn't we assume all these things? And none of it's happening.
But what's crazy, though, is that if you look at Aaron Glenn's track record, there are so many examples of guys actually developing and panning out in New Orleans and in Detroit at safety and at corner. And and I think that's why a lot of Jets fans assumed, okay, well, on paper, the highest paid corner in football should theoretically get better with a former DB, someone who's developed multiple DBs. Yeah, it's just common sense. So, and also too, Steve Wilks is a former DB coach. That's how he came up. Think about some of the DBs that he's developed. Josh Norman in Carolina, right? Like he's been a part of some good players. And so if you want to argue, okay, you know what? Yeah, the coaches have not been good, but the players need to be looked at as well. Like you have examples that you can point to. Kirby Joseph came in as a mid-round pick in Detroit. Brian Branch came in as a second-round pick in Detroit.
So then it's talent. So then it's these players then.
Well, I don't think it's full 100%. Like coaches are clear and everything's fine, or players are totally fine. It's a combination of both. I think it is a learning process, but I just don't. I mean, who would have thought that one of the best slot corners in football is unplayable? Who would have thought that Gardner, again, based off of what he's getting paid, the expectations rise. Based off of what we saw his rookie season, expectations rise. And these guys simply aren't playing up to it. And then Tony Adams, he's just like he could do whatever he wants, and he's just not going to ever be benched. So I think if the Jets, because I mean, let's face it, like is there really going to be a change this week? No, probably not. Right? It's Tuesday. They're already on to Dallas as far as the game plan is concerned. If the Jets want to really shake things up, what they can do is you can bench Michael Carter and play Brownlee immediately.
Yep.
So you have that swap. You can either sign CJ Gardner-Johnson and plug him at strong safety and just let him go there. So now you're getting 2 upgrades. And I don't even care, Brownlee, he's not this, he's flagged a lot and stuff. I don't care. He's an upgrade at this point.
Yep.
The production has been that bad. I don't mean to sound overreactive, but it's just look at the facts, look at the numbers. The production's not there. Gardner-Johnson can come in off the street right now and look better than Tony Adams. Frankly, I think Malachi Moore has looked better than Adams. If you don't sign Gardner-Johnson, you could make the argument, okay, start Azareye'h Thomas at corner and bump Stevens over to safety.
Yep.
But that, even though I think it does make some sense, because Stevens, say what you want about him, he has speed. Like, he really flies to the football, which I like. And he is like, you can tell that this guy has been hustling, which I like. He made a couple plays last night. Again, is he perfect? No. But I don't, when I'm looking at Stevens, he's getting better literally every week. Like every week he's getting better and better and better. I don't necessarily know if now is the time to move him to strong safety. Cisco's played some strong safety. Do you maybe drop him down into the box and then you start someone else at free safety? I don't know. But I think getting Brownlee into the lineup as quick as possible will help this team.
He's got to get healthy first.
I wasn't the injury just like looked at as a week-long thing?
Well, he said he was week to week. I think they said him and Jermaine Johnson, right? I don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, also,
I thought Johnson was week to week.
But like you're right. Like you have Dean Clark, which I liked. Jarius Monroe, I liked as well. To me, it's like if you're going to watch high price players struggle, I'd rather see the rookies come in. I'd rather see, like they talked about, where was it? The one thing here, like Pritchett and Skinner and Brandon Smith. Like, why not, dude? If Josh Reynolds isn't going to contribute or Tyler Johnson's not going to contribute, I'd rather see Pritchett come in. I'd rather see, like, at least try to get young guys playing. The season's lost, 0-4. Let the young guys play and get experience, because we know most of these other free agents aren't going to be here next year. They're not. They're all going to be gone. So, and you talked about get AZ Thomas playing time. You're good point about Stevens. I understand that. So AZ Thomas may have to wait a little bit. Malachi Moore should play exclusively, give him as much playing time as possible. Bring in all the youth, dude. And I do it on offense too, man. Like I just –
yeah, throw Pritchett, Brandon Smith out there, wide receiver.
It can't hurt, dude.
Take a back seat. Yeah, give Mason Taylor a ton of snaps. Yeah, it can't hurt.
So now the question is, they're 0-4. Where do you go from here? Like the title of this video is, are the Jets one of the worst teams of football? I think actually they are, because they self-destruct week in and week out. They're not playing good complementary football. They're not playing good fundamental football. And at times they're not playing competitive football. That's just a fact. So you're giving up almost 30 points a week. That's not sustainable. Your offense is very helter-skelter. You don't know really what to expect from it, because I don't really trust the passing games. I don't think the Jets trust the passing game. So where do they rank? You figure they have the Saints, the Panthers, the Jets. The Jets probably aren't the actual worst, but they got to be down there, right?
I would say bottom 3, based off of what we've seen, just solely looking at 4 weeks of football, bottom 3. I think New Orleans is bottom 3 and Tennessee's bottom 3. Now, with that being said, I'm not a big Panthers guy here or anything, but at least they have a feather in their cap, 30-point blowout win against the Falcons.
Yep.
At least the Browns can say, oh, yeah, we beat Green Bay. At least the Giants can say, we have a win against the Chargers.
Now, there's 2 things here, and this is something that is going to get really interesting, because we're already here on October 3rd or September 30th is the trade deadline. Now, when you're seeing how this team is playing, a lot of things are falling apart. Do you start saying, listen, it's a lost season. The fans know, we know, we're not going absolutely nowhere. Do we start making moves with guys that we know are not going to be here last year? And that was the one thing that Joe Douglas never did. And it pissed me off endlessly when you knew guys weren't going to be here. They held on to him, didn't make any moves, and then they lose him in the offseason anyway. They hope for the Pittsburgh picks. Go ahead.
Yeah, and with JD too, when it was time to buy, he wouldn't pull the trigger.
Nope.
And we would never get those midseason additions that we freaking desperately needed, which is also equally as frustrating. Yeah, well, I think with that, obviously, you know, it's still I believe it's 6 weeks until the trade deadline, so a lot of things can happen. And I think in that time span, obviously, like we're going to see what the hell happens with this Jets team, but I don't necessarily think like, okay, we should be picking up the phone and taking calls for Breece Hall tomorrow, like that. You know, I think holding on to these guys up until like the last 2 weeks to the trade deadline, now we can start talking about deals, assuming that we keep losing. But you know, Michael Carter.
Can you see us getting to that point? Because I definitely can. I'm not saying trade him tomorrow. I'm saying as this season plays out and you're seeing these disappointing results where the team's bottoming out and it's going to be a true rebuild because they're just not good. I think that's going to have to be a question. Michael Carter, Breece, some of these guys may have to go. And I mean, I don't think Breece is coming back anyway. I think he wants out of here, but it's going to be painful to see this dude. I think there's going to be popular players that aren't going to be here next year. And they could be gone by the trade deadline, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, man. Like, it sucks. I mean, some of these guys are like fans' favorite players, but the reality is like it goes back. Like, I don't think we should try to outsmart however many years, hundreds of years of when you think about just on paper, a bad football team, a team that should be a seller, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? If Breece is not going to be here, even though he's a good player, even though he's been great this season so far, if the Jets continue to lose, I really do not mind Darren Mushi saying, you know what? I didn't draft these players. It's not working out. They're not going to be back. Let's, instead of maybe, walking the line, okay, we'll keep them, we'll be competitive, whatever, just pull the trigger and just say, you know what? Let's go all in and secure some draft picks. I'm trying to think of players that could realistically be dealt. I would say Quincy, if he's healthy. Because he's on an expiring deal. I would say Breece Hall. I would say Michael Carter, maybe if like Jeff Ulbrich and if Ulbrich wants him, or maybe Saleh wants him in San Francisco. But the problem with that is he's on such a big contract, so the Jets would probably have to eat some of that. Eat some of the money there. I don't see a team just taking on the full Michael Carter contract. Because ideally you want to actually be able to get something for these players, not just seventh rounders. I guess anything is better than nothing, but I think those three I would say can probably net you back a solid return. I still don't like the idea of trading Quinnen.
No,
I just don't. I can't get behind that.
Nope.
Harrison Phillips, I'm keeping. I don't care if he's a veteran. I'm keeping him. Jermaine Johnson's interesting. That to me is the question mark. But look, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We're only 0-4. We're not 0-9. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely a conversation we're going to have a month from now because this team's going in the wrong direction. I think Aaron Glenn's going to have to start weeding out some players that aren't going to be here next year, or he doesn't want to be here next year based on their work ethic or performance. Now, the other question is, that's obviously I hope for injuries too, is what do we honestly expect out of this team going forward? Because we lowered our bar so low where it's like, listen, just compete week in and week out. We want to just watch competitive football. We've been grossly disappointed 3 out of 4 games where there's not quality football and there's a lot of problems and they're self-destructing, penalties, turnovers, everything else. At what point do you start becoming alarmed with the staff, not the team, the staff? Is it that the same thing's happening by week 10, by week 12? And I'm not saying fire Aaron Glenn this year. He's coming back next year. We all know that. But if you see a lot of alarming things, when is it like, you know what? This is becoming a red flag where I'm worried about this staff getting a young quarterback high in the draft, grooming a young quarterback, rebuilding this team. Like, where do you start getting worried about rebuilding this team under this head coach?
I think the season just needs to continue to play out because we're only 4 games into it. And like you've watched football for a long time. I've watched football for a long time. Jets fans have seen a lot of football throughout the years. Like we see teams go on runs. We see teams fall apart. We see teams start slow and, and well. And I don't, I think it's to look at Aaron Glenn and say, okay, we're out, we need to fire this guy at the end of the season is a bit of an overreaction. Again, I'm never going to tell a fan how they should feel or what they
But
want.
by week 10, if this stays the same, like how many weeks of this do we have to watch before we start saying, like right now, it's very easy to say fire Wilks. Okay. It's 4 terrible games of defense. If we see 12 games of this, listen, man, we can't even justify keeping this guy. It's impossible. Like, because right now we're overreacting because we're 0-4, we're out of everything. And we're also still pissed off about the last 14 years not making the playoffs. But when is it truly time to say, listen, man, maybe this coaching staff isn't over their heads? How many poor games? Like, what should we expect going forward?
I would probably have to give it into next season.
Really? So if this defense is one of the worst in football and say in week 15, and you're like, you know what? Let's bring it back next year and see what happens. Like, because like the one argument could be, well, we wanted Jeff Ulbrich fired after the first year, and the next year they came back and played very good defense. Do you have that level of faith that Wilks can actually turn this around?
Well, I guess if we are that bad through 15 weeks, and this is a straight assumption, right? We have no idea on how bad the team would be, how the team is losing games and stuff. But I think through 15 weeks, if the defense is still this bad, we have to look at the players and say, okay, assuming, right? Because your question is assuming they look the same way. So it's penalties, it's missed tackles, it's poor angles, it's poor effort, it's not violent enough, and no coverage, right? If we take a look at like the macro perspective, like I would say year 3 under Robert Saleh, the defense started to have chinks in the armor, right? And so as the season goes on, the defense is just getting a little worse and a little worse and a little worse. Year 4, the defense falls off under Saleh. So they make a move. And keep in mind, solid defensive guy. He was hired to, come in and do good things with his Jets defense. He's doing good things with San Francisco. He's a good defensive mind. Although I think he's stuck in his way, like he has 100%. A set system. At least he can produce in that style of system. And so we saw penalties, mistakes, poor tackling. We had all these same issues under Saleh. Then we shift to Ulbrich, another defensive guy who I think is a little bit more versatile than Saleh, but not as maybe he doesn't have as high of a ceiling as Saleh is, like a defensive play caller and whatnot. And the defense got worse. More missed tackles, more touchdowns allowed. The coverage is not good. And so we're now down 2 defensive minds with the same group of players. Now we have Glenn coming into the building and Steve Wilks, 2 more defensive minds. And we're seeing missed tackles and penalties and poor effort and the same mistakes. So we're now up to, again, assuming this lasts for 15 weeks. That would be 4 defensive minds, Saleh, Ulbrich, Glenn, and Wilks, who have all succeeded elsewhere. But for this Jets team working with this set of players, we're seeing the same issues. And I don't really think that we can say fire Wilks, fire Glenn, and that's just going to solve our issues. We're going to have the next guy come in. I mean, the Jets are already looked at as just this.
Yeah, but I'm not saying fire Glenn. I'm saying like the one thing it's like, I mean, let's be honest. The Wilks hire was questionable to begin with. As fans, we justify it as, former head coach, a lot of experience, good sounding board for Aaron Glenn, assuming Aaron Glenn can implement his defense, and that'd be the way you handle it. We questioned the Wilks hire, and many people did. Many people didn't like it from the start. And now you're seeing this, and it's awful. Can't generate turnovers, can't generate a pass rush, terrible angles, terrible tackling. You're wondering about all kinds of things. And it's like, okay, then at what point you say, listen, we have faith in Glenn that he knows what he's doing. He hired a guy. Sometimes it doesn't work out, dude. You got to make a change. To me, it's like that's the question there is to assess that and identify, is it the players or the coach? If it stays like this for the rest of the year, it's going to be a hard sell when you have one of the worst defenses in football. But to your point, I then worry about the players too, where it's like that's the constant over all these years. Same guys, same results too. But I mean, they're walking a fine line with this dude because it's really like they start losing games to the Saints and the Panthers good luck saving. I mean, you're going to be facing enormous pressure. Like everybody said, like last night was a must win. Tampa's a must win. You know it's a must win with the Browns, the Saints, and the Panthers. You lose games like that, this is going to be unbearable around here, dude.
Yeah, it would not be good.
But the expectation rate, as bad as they've been, you say, listen, okay, you've lost to some good teams and you lost to a bad team. You have to find a way to beat teams that are on the same level as you. The Jets, we all just said, they're what? The third worst team in the NFL, 30, 31, 32. They can be whatever you want. You've got to beat some of these bad teams to at least salvage your season and act like you know what you're doing. Show some kind of progress. If you lose, 21-10 to the Panthers, dude, this will be unbearable for all. I won't be able to handle it. I can't. We can't do it.
Yeah.
But is that the expectation, though? Because the excuse was what? Well, the Steelers are a playoff team. Oh, Josh Allen's great. The Bucs are a playoff team. We made every excuse for the losing. Well, they're losing close games. At some point, you got to prove as a staff you can win close games. And I'm so tired of hearing this goddamn, well, Dan Campbell went. I don't give a shit what Dan Campbell did in Detroit. It doesn't matter. Dan Campbell doesn't matter anymore. I don't care what Detroit did. These rosters are completely different. Right? Like, why? And not picking on anybody saying it, but it's just like, to me, it means absolutely nothing what Dan Campbell did. Because for every Dan Campbell, there's 40 coaches that failed, right? Everybody's nitpicking the one. Well, he was with Campbell in Detroit and all this stuff. That's fine. How many guys inherited teams and did absolutely worse than that? A lot. A lot of Jet coaches have done worse. Right?
So yeah. I think you're right, but
our only saving grace is, well, Dan Campbell went 0-11. Oh, great. Let's follow that mantra. Go 0-11. Let's follow that process. Just because we're guaranteed success because Jared Goff's walking in the building, right? That's going to happen here.
Well, I do think there's this misconception that like Detroit had no good players. Like Detroit had Amon-Ra St. Brown, they had Taylor Decker, they had DeAndre Swift, they had Jamal Williams, they had Jared Goff, they had Hawkinson at tight end, like Tracy Walker at safety. Like there were some good players on that Lions team. And I think the reason why people always bring up Campbell is because A, it's a relevant example of a losing dysfunctional organization who was able to turn it around in time. And B, Aaron Glenn was a part of it. And now Aaron Glenn is with the Jets, who similar situation where, God, Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia, who was the interim, Darrell Bevel or something. It was just a mess. It was like a 4-win season, 5-win season or something. And then you have Campbell come in and it got worse before it got better. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But here's a question that I have for you, because every week you ask me.
For those asking real quick, it's top of the 7th, 1-0 Yankees, and Max Fried pitched an absolute gem. Go ahead, man. Don't do this to me.
Confidence level going into Dallas.
No.
Every week you ask me, I'm gonna guess you're at probably a 0 or a 1.
The only thing I'm hoping for to keep this game competitive is the Cowboys have an enormous letdown following that Packer game where they fought their asses off to not get embarrassed by Micah Parsons, 40-40, all this excitement, playing the lowly Jets that are terrible. You're traveling. I'm hoping for that. But I have no idea how this Jet defense is even going to compare with the Dallas Cowboys if they have no pass rush. I have no idea. The Cowboys defense blows, so that's a positive. But, I mean, I just don't see it. You got to hope for a letdown. You got to hope for – what else can you hope for? I don't even know. Like I can't buy into it, dude. Maybe a 4.5.
Yeah, somehow the Jets, like the Vegas odds, it's like the Jets +3 or something. Yeah, Jets +2.5 at home. I'm like, what? It would be classic Jets to come out and get this win somehow, some way. Classic Jets.
But they need it. They desperately need it because now the vultures are circling. And the other thing you got to worry about too is this team right now is, when they're making mistakes, Aaron Glenn on the sidelines taking the opposite approach where he's not yelling at a lot of these guys. He's trying to coach, like Braylon Allen, he's trying to coach him up. Listen, man, you made a mistake, bounce back. We're all in this together. Like, he's fighting to keep this thing together. You keep losing, dude. It says like they're going to start tuning him out. But listen, man, hard training camp. You promised us all this, all this stuff where less penalties, less this. We're just as bad as we were last year. This ain't working, so good.
Well, let me just counter. I think it's embarrassing when a head coach just completely rips a player, especially like the quarterback or a star, as they're coming off the field. Like you saw like Brian Daboll do that a couple of times, like throughout the years with the Giants. Players don't respond to it. Analysts don't respond to it. TV announcers don't respond to it. And like, if you're a fan of the team and that player made a mistake, like it's cool to say like, oh, accountability, great. But I think, when you have a moment like that, it just goes beyond, unfortunately, that moment in time. And it's just this kind of thing that lingers on. So I appreciate Glenn. And it's not to say that he's like, Todd Bowles level, just standing there soullessly, like on the sidelines. Because you have seen him freak out on like, who was it? Like Arian Smith and Xavier Gibson. Like you have seen him like get uptight.
Hold on. Hold timeout. So he can rip Arian Smith, but he can't rip Michael Clemens, or he can't rip who? Garrett Wilson doing a stupid play? That's the double standard. Then you have no accountability then at all, because it's like, all right, you can do this, but you can't. Like if you screw up, you screw up. If you like, dude, and like I'm old, dude. Parcells didn't give a rat's ass who you were. If you made a mistake, he was in your face. Curtis Martin, Kevin Mawae, whoever it was, everybody's on the same page here. We're a team. You mess up like really stupid things, you're being held accountable. If you don't like you being yelled at, guess what? Don't do it anymore. Don't make the same dumb mistakes.
Well, so the point that I was making is I don't want to see Aaron Glenn become this kind of disciplinarian dictator, Greg Schiano of Tampa Bay. You think back to like one of the more recent examples where it's screaming, it's hollering every single negative play. It's freaking out on this guy. You're embarrassing this guy. There is something to be said, in my opinion, of keeping it behind closed doors. I think it's very interesting because you can take a look at a bunch of coaches that the Jets have had throughout the years, Ulbrich, Saleh, Gase, whatever, take your pick. There's really only two that stand out as far as when other coaches, when other teams' players, when analysts talk about these coaches, they rave about them. Todd Bowles, Aaron Glenn. Even like Dan Orlovsky, like before the game starts, like he's just going into detail about how much he loves and how impressive Aaron Glenn is. And then we, watch the Jets and it's just completely, disheartening and depressing, flat out joke. But I do think, you listen to Sean Payton talk about Aaron Glenn compared to like Nathaniel Hackett. You listen to Bill Parcells. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Jets were able to bring in all these, former players, all of Glenn's former teammates. Mike Westhoff is in the mix. I think there is something to be said about Aaron Glenn being able to handle player-coach relationship.
I agree with you. Like, you don't have to yell at everybody, dude. You can have the, like we're Braille now in the Braille now moment last night where you can say, listen, man, it's a fumble. It's not good. But listen, we need you the rest of the game. But you could also hold guys accountable. You don't have to yell at them. You can be like, all right, you're out of play. You're out of play. You made a mistake. You're taking this series off. Like, you can't be like, well, maybe next time, good luck, go back in there. No, there's got to be repercussions for poor play. There has to be, especially stupidity, dude, where it's mindless, dumb penalties, turnovers, whatever. It's like, there's got to be something, dude. You can't just be like, well, we'll talk about it after the game in the locker room. Nope. You don't have to embarrass a player. You can pull them aside the sideline. Listen, man, that's inexcusable. You've got to be better. Go sit down. Like, there's ways to handle it.
Yeah. Sorry, my cats are fighting over here.
Got more fight than the Jets do.
I know, man. I know. I think basically the point is, if someone needs to, if Glenn feels like he needs to yell. If Glenn feels like, okay, this guy just maybe needs some encouragement and he's not going to respond well to yelling, then go that route. I think Glenn is smart enough and it kind of has like the EQ to identify what a player needs. I don't want to see Glenn turn into a coach where it's just like, I'm going to scream and freak out because people say I need to do this and I need to hold people accountable, or people didn't like my dancing, against the Bucs, so I got to tone it down to please people. Hey, give me one quick second. Hold up.
Yep. Oh, he's breaking up the cats. They've got a cat fight over here. And the one thing about Aaron Glenn that's really interesting too is I think for the last 3 weeks, the media seems to be like living rent free in his head, and it's become a little bit embarrassing. Where it's just like he's enamored with. He's so about the outside noise. He's so focused on what the media is saying. Like, dude, the rent free in your head, dude. Leave it alone. Stop mentioning it. It's coming off really poorly. Like this press conference, he didn't do it, but like focus on your losing, man. Focus on getting your team better. Don't give the outside noise more credit by completely mentioning it and every freaking press conference.
Yeah, Armin, for sure. Yeah, I think you are 1,000% right, dude. Even talking about like the whole same old Jets thing. Why? This was one of my biggest problems with Saleh. Who cares
Yep.
what the media says? Who cares about the stories? I think and personally, dude, I don't mind how Glenn responds to some of these questions because it's like
Yep.
he'll get asked a question, kind of like like it's pretty obvious that you understand what type of answer that Glenn is going to give.
Yep.
Not even 2-3 minutes goes by and someone asks the same exact question. So I understand the frustration from Glenn from that perspective. It's like, come on. But I think with how he is short with the media, I don't, that's cool, but don't be so consumed in it. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you, no one wants to give Belichick credit. Everyone hates Belichick, right? Jets fans. But one of my favorite things about Belichick, he didn't care about how he acted. He didn't care about, what the stories were going to be or anything. He would just mumble and give one word responses. I don't mind if coaches do that. Just give the media less ammunition to work with. Like, I think you're 100% spot on. It almost feels like Glenn is like, and the same thing could be said with Saleh, right? They're like spending their free time
Yep.
on Twitter, like searching up what people are saying about the team. It's just like the media should just be put to the side. They're completely irrelevant, internally speaking. Rick Spielman, Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, all these different guys. Who cares about the media? Just put them aside, answer the questions, give them simple answers. Don't even pay them any mind. Just get in there and get out. Just there's no reason to try to motivate the team through the pressers and try to give these cool responses and stuff. Just one word it and keep it moving, and don't even pay him any mind.
I think he's trying to create the us against them mentality, but it's just not working. It's backfiring on him. So, Baylor, this is an interesting question because this is my biggest frustration out of all this is you're losing all these games you get through and going through all this with a quarterback that's most likely not your franchise quarterback. You're not grooming a franchise quarterback. And now you're like, all right, can this offense work with another young quarterback? And then it comes like, well, it's our yearly tradition. It's almost October. We've got to talk draft. That's what the Jets do. This is what we do. Would you guys draft a quarterback with a top 3 pick? That's what it is. This is our time of year, man. This is when we shine, when we start scouting quarterbacks in October, which is just wonderful. And this is my concern, man. You're looking at all like the way this season's going right now. You worry about bringing in the young quarterback into this Jets world, where the one thing you want to do is you want to implement a very good offense, have a stout offensive line and playmakers, and then do plug and play. Like, all right, we have a pretty solid offense here. We're just this, like say Mark Sanchez. We have a foundation. We put you in here. We know how to protect you. We know how to work with you, and you can find your way in this offense. Right now, do you think the Jets have that kind of ability to do this with a young quarterback next year?
I think today, no, but next year, yeah. Because obviously free agencies before the draft, season ends. We have our left tackle. We have running backs. We have a right tackle. We have Tippmann under contract. We have Garrett under contract, Mason under contract. So we have to figure out 2 guard positions, right? And wide receiver, probably two wide receivers. So let's just say free agency opens up. Tyrod, by the way, free agent. Fields is under contract. But let's be honest, right? If the Jets are finishing with a top 3 pick, chances are Fields isn't playing great ball.
Yep.
So to answer that question, yes, I would draft a quarterback top 3, even if Fields is not the main reason why we're losing games, even if Taylor's not the main reason why we're losing games. The Jets have a big question mark at the quarterback position long term. And if you have a top 3 pick, you got to explore QB. They just don't grow on trees. Yep. You can't expect that you're going to sign one and have everything just work out. So for me, I would be drafting a quarterback because I just can't. I mean, God, it's so.
But if you're,
I don't want to jump in here and talk about Abel, but
if you're following the Lions' point of view, the Lions resurrected their career or resurrected their franchise with Jared Goff. Do the Jets go that route? Like, listen, you know what? We can't go with this young quarterback. We have to find that veteran guy that can kind of not 41 years old like Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you go the other route to find a veteran quarterback that can actually kind of, ride the ship here and then groom the quarterback under that guy. That's what they should be doing now. It feels, but that's right.
Well, the thing is, the Lions they were able to buy low on Goff, right? The Rams needed to get off of the deal. The Rams really wanted Stafford. The Rams kind of soured on Goff. There was like that question about McVay and Goff's, player to coach relationship, and the Lions, because if you think back, of course, everyone was making fun of the Lions when they acquired Goff. Like, what are they doing? This is horrible, taking on all this money. Obviously in the end, Brad Holmes is correct. It really was a win-win for both sides, but you don't have a type of player like Jared Goff that's just on the market, or even like projecting into next season. Who's going to be that guy? I would say if there's maybe one, Kyler Murray, but everyone else feels pretty locked in. Anthony Richardson, that's a major question mark. Who is that guy that is deemed a franchise quarterback, someone who can be a top 10 quarterback, but is going to be on the move?
That's the question. But the thing is too, it's like you if you find that, because I guess the question is, if you go that traditional route where you're going to go draft a young quarterback, you have to say you got to give Aaron Glenn at least 2 more years, right? Because you got this year is the redshirt year of trying to figure out what everything is on this team. Then next year you get your young quarterback. You can't fire him the year after that. You got to give him at least 2 or 3 years with his coordinator to see what this kid is. Some of the Giants are doing with Brian Dable, right? You have to. So Glenn's going to have to be here if you go that route. Or do you say, listen, your first year was completely terrible. We have a team with a window now. Garrett Wilson in his prime. We want to take advantage of these guys in their prime. We kind of want to win a little bit faster than waiting for a rookie quarterback. Do you make some kind of aggressive, bold move to get a guy?
I think again, we have, as far as what, like trading for a veteran quarterback, we have to ask the question, who's that guy? Tua, like, is anyone really giving you any sort of confidence?
I'll have names to you in 2 weeks.
I know you will. I know you will.
Because dude, I just don't like, as a Jets fan, we're scarred, dude. Like, going through that drafting your own quarterback. We've been through it so many times where it hasn't worked. I don't like necessarily early on. I don't necessarily like this class. Like, I have a top 5 pick. That's a slam dunk. Don't really see that right now where you feel, okay, like, do you see a guy right now at the early college football season you feel comfortable with number 1 pick as a quarterback?
I mean, I think there's really 3. I mean, it's so strange because this season, I think there's a pretty good chance that a lot of guys come back to school. Like, I think a lot of people are assuming Dante Moore is going to come out. I don't know. I've spoken to some people pretty close with Oregon. None of them are worried that he's going to leave. Everyone thinks he's going to be back, like, for sure. Redshirt sophomore, he's like 20 years old. You can definitely make an argument that Lenore Sellers could be back, but if Sellers is coming out and the Jets say have the 3rd, let's just call it 3rd overall pick, and he's there, the upside's there. You got Garrett Nussmeier, more so this pocket passer. I do like Garrett Nussmeier's fit in this Tanner Strand offense, minus the quarterback running. But let me throw this kind of proposal at you, right? To answer your question about from before about the Jets having enough talent. So you have Garrett, you have Mason, you have running backs, you have tackles, you have a center. If we maybe re-sign one guard and sign a new guard, or maybe bring back both guys, or bring AVT back on a cheap prove it deal or something.
Yep.
Or maybe you like re-sign Myers, you play Tipman a guard, and you bring back AVT, or however the Jets want to work it. And then they go out and they sign Alec Pierce to a 4-year, $45 million, 4-year, $50 million deal. All of a sudden, if you're a new, rookie quarterback coming in, assuming we get a veteran quarterback, or assuming that he doesn't have to play right away, it's like, okay, this is a pretty good environment for a quarterback to learn, grow, and then step in and have some capable pieces around him. It's not like Zach when he was drafted. Yeah. It's not like Darnold. I mean, the New York Jets and the media consistently treats these guys. They always are treating these quarterbacks like knights in shining armor. Like, please save us. Like, the Jets are this, we're about to, we're stuck in the castle, right? Save the princess from the dragon. Like, it's ridiculous, dude. I hate the coverage with young quarterbacks in the New York media. It's just, I don't know. I just can't stand it, right? Everything is so over dramatized. Everything is so over analyzed. And, so unfortunately you just have to kind of overcome that media kind of force, right? If you are one of these guys coming in. But here's my problem. The Jets also treat these guys like that as well.
100%.
Please save us, Colts, Andrew Luck. It's sometimes it works, but it hardly does. And I think you are at a major advantage when you can say, okay, here's your young quarterback. We're going to provide you with some weapons. We're going to give you some protection. We're going to give you a solid running game. We're going to have a plan. We're going to have a vet quarterback to help you out. We're really going to be all in and invested in you, and not just, you're amazing, you're this top quarterback prospect, draft insiders love you, please save us and do everything for us. Again, Zach Wilson he never had like this elite or even functional supporting cast. Sam Darnold, same exact way. That's got to change. If you are drafting a quarterback, you got to get him weapons. And if you don't have weapons, then you don't play him.
Well, yeah. Well, then the one thing too is you can actually play Justin Fields next year early on. Like, all right, Fields starts and the kid comes on later on once the season spirals out of control or whatever else. You can do that. But the thought of bringing a young quarterback in here makes me just I just worry. I worry about Muji. I worry about just all this coming into this market, this environment. It's almost similar, to be honest with you. It's almost similar as hiring a first-time head coach. To me, this job is too big for a first-time head coach. This job is too big for a rookie quarterback. It just is, because you're going to get eaten alive. Like, there is no wiggle room because there's so much damage they've done in the past and previously, where it's like, oh, his first interception. Oh, that's a Zach Wilson throw. That's a Sam Darnold throw. Here comes Geno Smith. Here comes Hackenberg. Like, all those things where you have that been there, done that quarterback that you wish you could find that can handle all of it. Like, no big deal, man. Like, Jared Goff was perfect for Detroit. Detroit had that losing mindset. He handled it all. And look where he is now. You know what I mean? They're winning every year. So it's, man, I understand I understand the whole the process of a young quarterback, but I'm not sure the Jets are the right team for it, dude. Even with this, I don't know. It makes me really uncomfortable.
Okay, so if that's the path that you want to go down, and of course, nothing's locked in, but you also don't want to roll with Fields and what we identify on.
I'm sorry, you broke up on that one. What was it?
What, out of the veteran quarterbacks, which is the guy, assuming you don't want Fields, assuming you don't want a young quarterback, again, whatever. This is all just early hypothetical stuff, kind of rambling, but who is that guy that you want to say you're the guy? Is it Kirk Cousins? Is it Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I don't want Kyler Murray, but that's something. It's like, this is my mindset going into it. Like, that's what I'm worrying about as this season plays out. Like, all right, lost season, we're looking for answers. As of now, Justin Fields has a long way to go. Maybe he surprises us over the next 13 weeks. Who knows? Maybe that's the answer. We don't realize it. But it's like, how do we find this answer? Do you want to pin the hopes of this franchise on a top 5 pick to, in theory, save the organization or be your next face of the franchise? Or do you want to go a different direction? And a part of me keeps thinking, man, this young quarterback is going to be an elite superstar, or it's just risky. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can pull it. I'd try to find some kind of veteran option. I would. I don't know. Maybe I'm just completely just beaten down.
Dude, it's oh my god, man! It's week 4. We're already talking about like these hypothetical draft situations.
The season's almost over. But I'm just trying to figure out But then it's like, then you worry about Aaron Glenn as the head coach. Can he handle? Can he develop a young quarterback? He's never done that before as himself. You mean, like, you're looking at, this is why when you have a first time head coach, you want the guy with the offensive mind, because that helps you developing the young quarterback. So I don't know, man. This is just what happens when you're 0-4 and you lose to the Dolphins.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this week against Dallas, man. Oh my god.
What's your level of confidence with the Cowboys?
Coming into the game, I was going to say 0. But I find it really interesting that the Jets are only a 2.5 point under. That's like low. That's the smallest line of the season. We've seen some strange things. Like we saw the Saints push the Bills. Like, who the hell expected that? The Panthers, one of the worst teams in football, 30-point blowout to a team that a lot of people had winning the NFC South. Like, there's been some weird things that have happened, man. Brock Purdy comes back and they lose to Jacksonville over on the West Coast. Weird stuff. So So I find that very weird, right? Because Vegas is not trying to lose money. They could have easily put that at like 8.5 or something. That's what I thought it was going to be. 9.5 points or something, 2.5. So, and like I'm not a sports bet or anything like that, but I do find value in the lines, just kind of seeing where, things kind of stand and stuff like that. So I do find that interesting.
Now, this comment, I got a lot of these comments today were like, you're being way too hard on Justin Fields. He actually played very well. And listen, the touchdown pass was incredible. Great. Garrett Wilson deserves so much better at this point. Garrett is a stud at wide receiver who's been just, if he had a legit quarterback, he'd probably be a Pro Bowler at this point. But Fields, I think, did some good. The broken play, great touchdown. To me, I think it's his decision-making, I think, bothers me. The conservative nature. Also, I think when he stays in the pocket, breaks down, he looks a little skittish where he checks it down right away. He doesn't sometimes his mobility is a strength. A lot of times he doesn't use his legs appropriately to me. It seems like he couldn't buy time in the pocket, and he doesn't really do that.
Well, see, I actually don't mind that style. I think why it's looked at as a negative right now is because the defense sucks. I think if the defense was forcing stops, right, they're holding teams to 10 points, 13 points, under 20 points per game. I don't want Fields launching the ball down the field and having these turnover-worthy plays. I think it's easy to say where are those, explosive shots down the field? Where are those chances in the passing game when they're not happening? But if they are happening and there is turnovers, it's just,
So, what grade would you give him for last night's game? How would you grade Justin Fields?
Numbers wise or letters wise?
Letters.
C.
Yeah, like I think he did some good, he did some bad, he did some frustrating things. But to me, it's like it can't always be. The fumble was brutal. That's another one that was just terrible. I mean, that's another thing. I think he does have the arm. I honestly think he does have the arm. They don't let him rip it. They don't let him throw it. And I think it bothers me. But when the pocket, like if you roll him out, he looks comfortable. If he's moving around, he looks comfortable. When he actually has to sit there and make a decision in the pocket, it's like he doesn't trust his eyes, trust his arm, or trust the receiver. It seems like there's something that's holding him back from making that play. You know what I mean? Like when you drop back, like, I'm not sure if I want to do it or not. Like that's what it seems like he's doing. It's like, why is he holding on to the ball longer than he should and making that check down play where there's probably plays open further on down the field?
Yeah, I think, what was interesting is Dan Orlovsky was making the point towards the end of the game where Fields like really tried to fit one in there. It was like he took the deeper shot over the guy who was wide open underneath. Mm-hmm. He took the shot to Garrett Wilson, even though he was double covered. And Orlovsky was just like, when you're playing the New York Jets, Garrett Wilson, like you're always going to have the shadow or the safety shadowing Garrett, right, along with the corner. Alluding to the fact that he's going to be either double covered or heavily focused in on by the defensive perspective. Now, why would Orlovsky say that? If we had T. Higgins, if we had Alec Pierce, if we had, one of these wide receiver twos, or at least someone who can get open consistently, they wouldn't do that, right? Yeah. They wouldn't do that. And, I think the point was, Fields still, even though like he saw that safety there, he still took the shot down the field to try to fit it into Garrett. And, the pass ended up being incomplete. But I just don't. I think it's a combination of things. And, one thing I've seen too is just like, by advanced analytics, Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Reynolds, they're all open, right? All these guys are getting open. It goes so much further than that, right? There's a chemistry that's built in practice, right? If these guys aren't getting open in practice, Fields isn't building the chemistry with them. He's not trusting them. And also you have to look at if these guys are open, are they open at the same time that the quarterback's eyes are on them in the passing scheme?
Exactly.
For example, if Fields drops back, right, and say the primary read is Garrett Wilson, but Josh Reynolds on the other side of the field beats his corner, right? He wins off the line of scrimmage and is open, but Justin's not looking his way, and he throws the ball to Garrett Wilson and it's a completion of 7 or it's incomplete or whatever, it's a bad throw. You can't come back and say, Justin had guys running wide open, right? Reynolds is open. Okay, It doesn't matter. He was the second read. And if Garrett is open, he's the first read. It's just kind of football 101. So, I think that stuff, even though it's kind of annoying to talk about, it's super nuanced. So you have to ask the question, when are these guys getting open? And even if they get open, let's just say 4 times per game, right? They have all these routes and 4 or 5 times a game, like, oh, the wide receiver's open, Fields could have hit him. It's the wide receiver's job to get open. The expectation should not be, oh, well, he's open on this one play. No, he needs to be wide open on every play. That's the mentality that I think wide receivers should have. So
absolutely.
I don't. Reality is 63 yards, 4 games, 3 total wide receiver stats included, 63 yards. That is just not happening with any other team in football.
Nope. Well, somehow this show went an hour and 20 minutes. I have absolutely no idea why, because we went all over the place. And I take full blame for this. I started the quarterback talk, the trade talk. I started all this because I'm just pissed off and I'm tired of this in September, which is amazing. So Jets Cowboys on Sunday. I have next to no confidence. I think it's going to be, I'm hoping for a letdown game, a trap game for the Cowboys, a huge emotional letdown. They come to MetLife and they're just like, oh, would it be probably 45,000 Cowboy fans there? But I don't know how. I mean, it could be a shootout, I guess. Maybe the Jets win 37-34 or something. I don't really know how they win this game. They're not going to play defense, so that's out of the question.
Real quick, and then we can end this. One just interesting point. When you take a look at by the numbers, and granted, it's only a month, things will definitely, or maybe will level out. When you look at the worst defenses in football, they're all defenses that should be better. The Jets, the Ravens defense is horrendous, dude. And granted, 1 week they played Allen, 1 week they played Mahomes, but still, dude, you think Baltimore Ravens, you think top 10 defense for sure. Stop the run, pass, blitzers coming all over getting in the backfield. Horrible. They are giving up so many points. I think they've actually allowed the most points in football, which is just insane. They just look like they're a mess. They have injuries as well. There's another Miami Dolphins. They should be a lot better, right? On paper, they're one of the worst defenses in football. Who is the other team that there's another? Oh, Dallas. I mean, you look at the amount of, talented players on the Cowboys defense, right? Matt Eberflus comes in, right, with Schottenheimer. He's in charge of Eberflus is in charge of the defense. Like, they have some solid players on that unit, and it is just getting torched. It's not the defenses that are like lackluster in talent that are that bad by the numbers, strictly just looking off the numbers, not taking into consideration, level of competition and things like that. But I do find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs defense is just so much fun to watch, dude. Spagnuolo has them just so revved up. They play physical, they play fast, they just pressure like crazy. I love watching defenses like that. Maybe one day the Jets can grow up and be like that, but that's maybe a decade or so from now. So we'll see what happens there. So I'm really frustrated, dude. Well, Yankees are losing 2-1. So now my miserable couple days is continuing, which is, of course. So,
dude, these 3-game series are crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's intense. The Yankees, Red Sox, it's just crazy. So, first of all, thank everybody for joining us on these streams. Next week will be on Ian's channel. Thank you for the listens on all the podcast networks. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching all our videos too, man. I can tell you this, we don't enjoy doing this, dude. When the team is this bad, complaining, ripping everybody shreds, it's not enjoyable. It's very, very frustrating. One more comment, though. The craziest thing about what Ian said, Garrett always seeing 2 defenders on the opposite side of the field. The Jets never doubled their best wide receiver. Interesting, because they had Sauce on Waddle last night, I think, initially, and Tyreek was just running all over the place. But the Jets' handling of the team's best receivers is kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, even if the Jets did put 2, shadowed one of the wide receivers with one of their safeties, they're not good. I mean, one of the problems with this Jets defense too is, they can't cover in man coverage, right? So whenever a quarterback completes a pass, all you see is the wide receiver running yards after catch and a corner trailing. But the other thing that just kind of stands out, where's the safety to kind of just lock the play down? Just boom, the play's over. When you have like a crosser and a safety, especially in like a cover one system where like you have the strong safety kind of drop down, like the cover one robber type of position, like your eyes need to be there. You can't just be standing around like it's caught in quicksand, not understanding where to go,
watching.
not being
Yeah.
able to like feel the game or like anticipate routes. Like Brian Branch does such a good job of that with the Lions. But yeah, the Jets safeties are just nowhere near the ball carrier ever. It's so annoying.
Yeah, they can't cover the team's best receiver or the tight end or the running back out of the backfield. They can consistently cover nobody. Darren Waller, 2 touchdowns. Like just you can't make it up, dude. You can't. It's just that's just ridiculous. But again, thank you guys for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. Hopefully better days are ahead because I hope so. Because it's just very, very difficult like following this team and dealing with it and being embarrassed week in and week out. So we really appreciate the support. And maybe we get surprised on Sunday. You never know. Maybe they win and they pull out a miracle for us. So
It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy.
we'll talk to you guys next week.
J-E-T-S!